SATCOM 1 is a go. Firing up SATCOM 2. SATCOM 2 is live.
The fusion of rational thought and political analysis. This is what your brain has been waiting for. News, politics, and issues. Enhanced. You have just joined the Wilkow Majority.
The next generation of great talk radio, the undisputed leader of the new school. Andrew Wilkow, Siriux XM Patriot. Phone lines, as always, 1-866-695-PATRIOT. The email to spell my name right, WILKOW at WilkowMajority.com. Individual Patriot first, conservative second, Republican third, and working every single day to make this the most popular program offered by Sirius XM Satellite Radio, because it's based on one thing and one thing only, and that is rational thought. So welcome to the Wilkow Majority. I'm Andrew Wilkow. If you listen to this program enough, you know that I don't make it cloudy. I've never served, but I am what you might call a gear nerd. Sometimes people call it gear queer. I mean, you can see I'm wearing a Wilson Tactical shirt today. When we talk about gear, joining us in studio is Eli Crane, a former Navy SEAL who owns the company Bottle Breacher, bottlebreacher.com. You took 50 caliber rounds and made beer bottle openers out of them.
Absolutely. It's only rational thought, right?
Well, there's more to it. I mean, many of these honor somebody who's fallen. So you gave me the Charlie Keating.
Yeah, Chuck Keating was one of my new guys at SEAL Team 3 in 2008. So we served together for 2 years, and Chuck was killed last year in Iraq and fighting ISIS. And he's an American hero. He's a patriot, and he's one of the coolest guys I've ever had the pleasure to know.
I have a Team 3 patch in my office from Brandon Webb, who runs my website, which is it says "Embrace the Hate," and it's got the horns. It's pretty cool. What made you want to make? What made you wake up one morning and go, I'm going to turn 50 caliber rounds into bottle openers?
Right. Well, that's a great question. I joined the Navy the week after 9/11, and I really wanted to serve my country. And so after 13 years in the military, 3 deployments to Iraq at SEAL Team 3, I decided that I'd done what I wanted to do. And I had a wife and 2 little girls, and I wanted to get out and be around them more. So while I was in the Navy the last couple of years, my little brother gave me a gift. It was a 50 caliber bottle opener from the Philippines. And I decided, hey, that's really cool, but I can make it a lot better. And so we started getting to work on it. I started in a garage with a Dremel tool, some stickers, and some spray paint. And within 6 months, we were up and running, and we were making good money. Thanks a lot. Big thanks to my wife for really helping me stand up an online business.
All right, stupid question. Did they start with powder in them and then you take it out, or they start as blanks and you just kind of how do you make this thing? Right.
So you start with a dummy round. So okay. That means it has no primer, no powder, and it's completely safe. And then you go from there.
Okay, because that would be interesting but dangerous work. And then you brought one in that's a baseball here. It says Bottle Breacher, and you open it up, and it's a magnetized baseball that splits in half, and you can open a beer with it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We spend a lot of time on our products, and we actually have a huge sale going on right now at bottlebreacher.com. We actually have a Father's Day tab. So if you want to get something for your father, we got a lot of sales going on, and I guarantee you will be able to find something on our website that's going to make your dad really happy.
Were you ever here for, because we're coming up on Memorial Day, obviously. We're going to talk about hiring veterans. I'm going to get some national security stuff out of you. But were you ever, when you were active duty, did you ever come here for Fleet Week?
I never came for Fleet Week, but I did come here.
You missed it then.
Right.
Because it's funny, we have ice cold winters here, the snow. People romanticize New York City around Christmas time, but really the snow turns to a muddy, crappy, it's just horrible here. And then once spring comes, all the women are, want to be out in their skirts and heels. And then once it's Fleet Week, all of a sudden the heels get higher and the skirts get shorter. And that's how I know it's Fleet Week. Because the harbor, the dock is just a few blocks from here. So you never, oh my God.
No, I've never been for Fleet Week.
I can only imagine the kind of attention you would have gotten as a SEAL here in Fleet Week.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of sailors really enjoy coming to New York for Fleet Week.
So let's talk about hiring veterans. I mean, you're not doing this by yourself anymore in a garage with a Dremel. Obviously, you've got other people. Is your entire workforce veterans?
It's not. I would say right now we're about 20% veteran. And a lot of our positions are actually manual labor positions, and there's actually not a lot of vets that are looking for those types of jobs.
'Cause they did it. They already pounded the ground.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And so, we support in a lot of other ways. We work with a lot of veteran nonprofits. And then, like, for instance, the reason I came to New York this week was to be a keynote speaker at an event called Elite Week, or Elite Meet, excuse me, where the whole premise of the event was to pair up about 35, 40 special operators with men and women from the finance, tech, and entrepreneurship fields, and really help them figure out what their next step was going to be and how to get there.
And how's that been?
It's been phenomenal. It was actually pretty cool. I actually served with a couple of the guys that were in the SEAL teams that actually were in the class that I was.
That went into finance?
No, I was there as the entrepreneur guy.
No, I'm saying that some of the guys that were working in finance were there to hear you speak.
No, some of the Navy SEALs that came, they were getting out of the military.
Okay.
They were getting ready to join the private sector, were there to learn, and I had served with a couple of them. So it was really cool for some of these guys who got to see a knucklehead like me that they used to serve with, who's actually become successful doing what we were taught to do in the military and just translating that into business.
I can't imagine what it would be like to be a SEAL one day and then wearing a suit and tie, carrying a briefcase, sitting in a cubicle, showing up 9 to 5. It seems like you need your fidget spinner or something just to keep your, because, how do you do that? How do you go from being, a SEAL to a guy riding a desk?
Yeah, I honestly don't know, and thankfully I hope I never find out. As the CEO of my own company, I usually show up in shorts and a t-shirt and tennis shoes, and I definitely don't sit at a desk. I make the rounds. There's a lot of stuff going on, from manufacturing, to sales, to partnering up with folks, and so my job now is really dynamic, and I actually love it.
All right, so let's talk some national security stuff. We've had we had Chris Tanto-Peranto in yesterday about his new book. We have a lot of guys from the special operations community on this program, and they all seem to be of the same opinion that the governments of the industrialized world have to start being more honest and more rational about the threats of terrorism.
Well, there's no coincidence that we all feel the same way, because that's absolutely what has to happen if you're ever going to deal with this problem. And it's actually really common sense. It's warfare 101. You either take the fight to the enemy or the enemy takes the fight to you. And it's been pretty clear over the last 8 years, what's been going on. And we've had an administration and a president who couldn't even mutter the words Islamic terrorism, let alone take the fight to the enemy and be aggressive in pursuing them. I knew in my last deployment to Fallujah, Iraq in 2010, I watched as we started turning over operations and our bases to the Iraqis. And there was a part of me that was a little bit relieved, because it was my third deployment, and I was tired, and as a lot of soldiers were. But I knew in the back of my mind, just using rational thought, as you like to talk about, that if we were no longer wrapping these guys up in their own beds at night and they were on the run from us, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and so did everybody else in my unit. We knew that the fight was going to spill back over to the United States. And so it's a really common sense thought. You either take the fight to the enemy or they take the fight to you. And I don't think a lot of Americans understand that this isn't a war that's going to end. When they declared war on us, we're not fighting over a city. They want to destroy us because they hate who we are and they hate what we're about.
And what's funny is that you look at the way our culture is splitting right now, especially college-age people. You have a 20-year-old who's been deployed as, let's say, a young Marine, right? That did his first tour of duty. His life experiences and his maturity is so vastly different than a sophomore going to college studying, 18th century lesbian poetry or something, that these two people have no connection to one another at all. You have a group of people in our society who believe the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen to them is that they hear words, statements, or arguments that bother them, offend them, trigger their microaggressions. And then you have another group of people who think the worst thing in the world is having to pick up a buddy who just got his leg blown off. And those two people, when you look at their priorities, their fears in life, their experiences, there's nothing in common. And we have separated our society along these intellectual and ideological lines, and we've applied this to national security. There's some people that just believe we have to leave the borders open, let everybody in. We can't be the meanies who don't let everybody in. And then there are people who know better.
Absolutely. And I think that's what happens when you grow up in a protected little bubble like the United States was for so long. And, a lot of these folks, they just don't realize how many wolves are out there and what they're capable of doing and what they would like to do to them. And when you talk about people that have been around security, people from the special operations community, people from law enforcement, they understand it completely different. They know the threats, they study the threats, and they know that we have to do a much better job in not only shoring up our borders and really vetting, who comes into this country, but they also understand what I was talking about earlier, and that's we got to take the fight to the enemy or it's going to spill over here.
Again, the website is bottlebreacher.com. Eli Crane is joining us. Where do you make these? Where's the factory?
We make these in Tucson, Arizona, and everything that we make is in the USA, and we're proud of it.
So Tucson.
Yes, sir.
Not California.
No, we actually started in a one-car garage in San Diego, California.
It seems like almost every SEAL business starts somewhere around like La Jolla.
Yeah, that's because half of the SEALs in the world are on the West Coast in San Diego, California. But for us, unfortunately, California could be one of the coolest, probably the best place in the world to live, but it's run by morons. And so most small businesses are flocking out of there in droves, and we did the same. We moved to Arizona.
You were saying off air that you've been showing, we were talking about the Class 234 Buds documentary that Discovery Channel did. And I always ask anyone who's a SEAL, do you know that guy Lively? Because he was the one that was getting in so much trouble throughout the Buds training. You've been showing this to your daughters. How old are your daughters? 9, you said?
I have 2 daughters. I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old.
When they look at these films of what these guys are going through, which is what you went through, do they say, wow, Daddy, what is your daughter's reaction to seeing what Buds looks like at 9 years old?
My 5-year-old really doesn't care about any of it yet, but the 9-year-old is very intrigued, and she actually asks me to, hey, Dad, can we watch another one? I think we're on number 4. And so she's really impressed, and it really helps her out when I talk to her about, how tough life is and how you have to develop thick skin. And, a lot of the life lessons that we're trying to teach her, it really helps her understand where Dad's coming from. Cause, I have a little bit different perspective than a lot of people. And I think I'm really hoping that it really starts to sync up and make sense to her, why Dad is the way he is and, what's really important in life.
And don't quit.
Absolutely. It's like, I don't care whether you're running a business. I don't care whether you're the president of the United States running the country, or I don't care if you're trying to become a Navy SEAL. I personally believe that resilience is one of, if not the most important character trait that you must have if you want to be successful.
And that's what you, obviously, bringing it back to when you're talking to people, no matter what. We were saying this yesterday. We had Tonto on. You know who I'm talking about?
I do know of him. I don't know.
Okay. His book is about living by the code of the Rangers, and we were saying that so many times when I do a segment like this, whether it's with you or him or Brandon or any other member of Terry Shepard, member of the Special Operations community, we always have this sort of this discussion about not quitting, living by a code. And I blurted out yesterday to Tonto. I said, well, how does a guy who works at Jiffy Lube apply that? And it wasn't because I want to insult people who work at Jiffy Lube, or as I said, the two professions were driving a local bread truck, we were talking about how if you apply these things, even if you think there's no application for them, somewhere there is. Whether it's having a better attitude than everyone you work with, learning what your manager is doing, what your boss is doing, figuring out what a franchise owner does, and then saying to yourself, I want to be a franchise owner. I'm going to learn every part of this business. I'm going to do it with a good attitude, and one day I can be the business owner. And that's what it means it seems to me, to apply those principles of never quit, be resilient, work with honor, do your best, never fail. Even if it's something you don't think has an application, if you really study it, it does.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that has to do with sacrifice, right? I mean, you got to ask the guy, why are you working at Jiffy Lube? He's probably working at Jiffy Lube so he can pay his bills, take care of his family,
right? Absolutely.
And so, in the service, there's a lot of things, a lot of things that we don't want to do. We don't want to be gone away from our families, on Christmas all the time. We don't want to be gone 260 days out of the year. We don't want to get shot at. But those are things that we sacrifice and that we're willing to do, for the greater good. And for a lot of us, it's for our country. It's for the guy next to us. It's for our brothers, in the case of the guy at Jiffy Lube, he's got his own set of things that he's working toward. He should be working towards. And, sometimes you got to suck it up and just, put out to get where you want to go in life.
Well, that's what I was, and the point of that being is that just when you think this sucks, where does it go from here? Start thinking, where does it go from here? I could be running the place, I could be owning the place, but if you're walking around every day saying my job sucks, my life sucks, you're not going to be thinking, how do I make it better? You got to be thinking, how do I make it better? What can I do to make this situation better?
Absolutely. And that, I'm glad you brought that up. It's something that I've noticed in a lot of different people, no matter where I'm at in my life. Losers in life, they focus on where they started the race from and why this isn't fair, who's got it better. Winners focus on where they want to go and how they're going to get there. It's that simple.
All right, bottlebreacher.com. We got to come up in the end of the segment here. Bottlebreacher.com is the website. These are made in the USA. Many of the editions honor a fallen Navy SEAL. Other branches?
Yeah, we have an Air Force one. We have a guy from Special Forces. We have 6 or 7 of them now, and we're going to keep doing them. And these are all about honoring these guys. And it's really cool because 20% of the proceeds from the Never Forgotten series goes back to the charity of the family's choice.
And I have one on my desk even before you gave me these. So, and I'll tell you right now, they open a bottle really good, really crisp. All right, Eli Crane, thanks for joining us in studio. We are right. They are wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. Sirius, not that we were making